Hello friends, so today we're diving into your ultimate cheat sheet for navigating the most influential people in your company. Get this right and not only will your work life become exponentially easier, but you'll also position yourself as an indispensable asset to the team. So stick around because what you're about to learn in this video will tangibly change your career. And we start out, of course, with the most flamboyant, enigmatic, and occasionally unhinged of them all, the Chief Marketing Officer, known as the CMO. Now, CMOs are the peacocks of the corporate world. Their job is to make the company look irresistible. This means everything from branding and advertising to lead generation and market positioning. When done well, they create a cult-like following around a product. When done badly, well, let's just say they've got a PowerPoint ready to go to explain why it's probably your fault. Now, the good ones are data-driven, creative, and understand psychology like a Vegas magician. But the bad ones are all sizzle and no steak. They're obsessed with vanity metrics and buzzwords and restrictive of any kind of creativity that isn't their own. But here's the thing to remember. Marketing is one of the most pressure-packed roles in the business. CMOs are expected to build excitement, generate leads, and make the company look like the next big thing. But many of the biggest levers of success are entirely out of their control. They can't force content to go viral, they can't dictate how the algorithm will treat their campaigns, and they certainly can't predict whether the public will love or absolutely roast their latest ad. And to make matters even trickier, everyone thinks they know marketing. Founders and CEOs tend to have very strong opinions about branding and messaging, whether they've got any actual marketing experience or not. And a great CMO has to balance these internal demands with what's actually, feasible and effective in the real world. It's a tightrope walk between managing expectations and delivering results, and all while trying not to pull their hair out. So how do you work well with them? Well, make friends with their numbers. CMOs love performance data, so if you can show them how your work helps them to hit their numbers, well, you're golden. For example, let's say you're running a content campaign, and you can prove that your articles are driving a 30% increase in high-intent leads. You're going to have a CMO eating out of the palm of your hand. Another great example could be if you're showing how a small tweak in messaging increases email open rates by 50%, or that a specific call to action led to a significant rise in conversions. The CMO will start treating you like their new best friend. Oh, and real quick, if you're new around here, I'm Jono, and I've helped hundreds of companies and thousands of people build audiences, fans, and communities with less hassle and better results. Okay, so now let's move on to a very different beast, and that's the Chief Technology Officer, also known as the CTO. Now, CTOs are the modern-day wizards of an organization. They translate high-level business ideas into actual products and services that function, or at the very least, they make them look functional long enough for an investor demo. Now, the good ones are strategic, practical, and obsessed with making technology work for everyone. They focus on scalability, security, and efficiency, ensuring that what's built today won't crumble under tomorrow's demands. But the bad ones? Well, they're allergic to deadlines. They've got a PhD in overcomplicating things and believe that every technical problem can be solved with an even more complex solution. One of the toughest parts of being a CTO is managing expectations from all directions. The CEO expects fast, cutting-edge innovation. The Chief Product Officer expects a clean, well-documented, and ever-evolving tech stack that supports constant iteration. The engineering team expects reasonable timelines and technical debt that doesn't feel like an anchor tied to their ankles. The CTO has to balance all of these forces while ensuring the company doesn't drown in half-finished features and unmaintainable code. But here's the key thing to know. Good CTOs also understand that technology is a means to an end, not an end in itself. They avoid falling into the trap of chasing trends and instead prioritize building stable, scalable solutions that actually serve users. They know when to push back on impractical requests, but also when to bend to business needs, and it makes them one of the most important decision makers in the company. So, want to work well with them? Well, speak their language. Engineers and CTOs respect clarity and logic. Show them how your work fits into their architecture, and never under any circumstances suggest using a tool just because it's trending on LinkedIn. For example, never, ever walk into a meeting with a CTO and suggest switching the entire infrastructure to a brand new, unproven SaaS platform because you saw a bit of buzz online. That's a one-way ticket to becoming an office meme. Instead, share a crisp summary of this new platform, its benefits, what a minimum implementation might look like, and what the outsized benefit might be, all while acknowledging that any kind of technological shift is a big deal for any CTO. Oh, and by the way, if you're finding this video handy, it would rock my cotton socks if you gave this video a like. You see, likes are a bit of a godsend for small channels like mine, helping to get my videos a bit more visibility by the algorithm. And if you want to go the extra mile, subscribing to the channel, well, that would be rather excellent indeed. All right, so next up, we've got the Chief Product Officer, or CPO. The CPO is kind of the bridge between what the market wants and what the company can actually build. They should be the voice of the customer and the architect of a brilliant user experience, but, and this is a big but, the bad ones are so customer obsessed that they pivot every 2 weeks, leaving engineers wondering if they'll ever see their families again. But here's what makes the CPO role especially tricky. They are constantly squeezed between competing forces. On one side, you've got the CEO and sales team who've grand visions, strong opinions, and often unvalidated demands about what the product should do. Sales teams in particular have a tendency to promise features that don't yet exist in order to close deals, and the CEO, meanwhile, may have an unshakable belief in a certain product direction that is fueled more by instinct than customer data. And then on the other side, you have the CTO and engineering team who actually have to build whatever the CPO and his or her team dream up. Engineers want clarity, realistic timelines, and a product roadmap that doesn't change every 5 minutes. If the CPO constantly caves to the sales or executive pressure, well, engineering morale tanks and you end up with a bloated product full of half-baked features that no one actually uses. So the best CPOs build a culture of creativity and open feedback, but establish a rigorous process for validating ideas. They give the CEO, sales, and others a way to engage in product discussions and contribute ideas without turning the roadmap into a chaotic free-for-all. They rely on user research, market data, and experimentation to determine what actually deserves engineering resources. It's a complicated balancing act, and if done right, the CPO becomes the unsung hero of a company, turning raw ideas into products that truly meet customer needs while keeping both leadership and engineering sane. All right, so how do you work well with CPOs? Well, make their lives easier by bringing them clear data on what works well and what doesn't. Provide them with structured feedback based on user insights and measurable outcomes so they can make more informed product decisions. Good product teams and CPOs absolutely love getting real data about what customers and users experience. Now, another way to work effectively with a CPO is to align with their validation process. If they have a structured method for testing ideas, make sure any suggestions you provide are backed up with real data, customer feedback, or competitive insights. They respect well-supported arguments way more than gut feelings. Also, just have some empathy and recognize that they're balancing multiple priorities and stakeholders. Offer ideas and solutions that not only support their vision, but also help to manage the often crazy expectations from both executives and engineering. And when in doubt, frame your input in a way that reduces friction between teams rather than adding to their juggling act. Alrighty, so the next one is a fun one. The head of sales. Now, sales is rather unsurprisingly all about closing deals. It's about making money and ensuring the company isn't just a very expensive hobby. The best sales leaders are strategic, they're customer focused, and they know how to build lasting relationships. The worst, well, they treat customers like walking ATMs and will promise features that don't exist and leave the product team scrambling. Now, let's talk about something uncomfortable, and that is the clear bias against sales that exists in many, many companies. I find it honestly rather disappointing that many parts of a business see sales as the corporate equivalent of a used car dealership, pushy, aggressive, and always trying to close at any cost. But that's honestly both a misconception and a tired stereotype. Great salespeople don't shove products down people's throats. They help customers solve real problems. If a company has a truly valuable product, sales is simply the bridge that connects people to something that benefits them. And more importantly, and I want to be abundantly clear in this, sales keeps the lights on. They bring in the revenue that pays for marketing campaigns, engineering sprints, and all those delicious snacks in the office. So while it's easy to roll your eyes at the high-energy, quota-driven world of sales, remember this: without them, nobody gets paid. So what's the secret to working well with them? Well, understand their quotas. Sales leaders are driven by targets, so if you can show them how your work helps them to sell more, well, they'll become your best ally. Now, one great way to get to know their world, and something that way too few people do, is to sit in on a few sales calls. Listen to how they pitch, what objections they face, and what challenges they encounter in closing deals. You will find this super, super helpful. It will give you some insights into their world and help you to frame your work in a way that really supports their efforts. Another tactic? Well, take a sales leader out for coffee and just ask about their biggest frustrations. Chances are they've got plenty to say about internal blockers, slow processes, and missed opportunities. If you can help remove any of these roadblocks, well, you'll have a lifelong champion for you in the sales team. Oh, and don't take it personally when they ghost your emails sometimes. They were probably in hours of sales meetings trying to secure a six-figure deal. Now, before we get on to our final role, if you want to build consistent audience growth and engagement, and do it in a way that builds really genuine, lasting, natural relationships, you should totally check out our community leadership call. We're kind of like a personal trainer for building audiences, fans, and communities, helping you to focus on what truly moves the needle, refining your approach, and holding you accountable to great results. If you want to find out more, check the link in the video description down there. All right, so now let's move on to the grand finale of this video, the Chief Executive Officer, also known as the CEO. Now, the CEO is the captain of the ship, the mastermind, but here's the thing. CEOs, despite their air of invincibility, are still human beings. They carry an immense weight of responsibility, knowing that the company's success determines whether hundreds or even thousands of employees can pay their bills and support their families. Many first-time CEOs, particularly in startups, have never done this before. They're figuring out as they go, juggling a million things at once. They have to find product market fit, meaning they need to prove that the product not only works, but is something that customers are willing to pay for and adopt at scale. At the same time, they're trying to maintain a strong company culture, ensure employees stay motivated, grow revenue, and navigate a labyrinth of investor expectations and board meetings, all while attempting to have some semblance of a personal life. The best CEOs are visionaries, decision makers, and master motivators. The worst, well, they think they're Steve Jobs, but operate more like a human tornado of half-baked ideas. Their emails are 3 words long, and they expect miracles by Monday. Now, if you want to work well with CEOs, I recommend you do, cut the fluff. CEOs are busy. They don't have time for 40-slide decks. Bring them clear insights, be concise, and for the love of all things holy, never book a meeting unless it's absolutely necessary. You want to understand their goals, share insights you feel that will be useful, and help move those goals forward in whatever way you can. You see, CEOs really value team members who are proactive and solutions-orientated. If you offer ideas that align with the company's mission and objectives, you'll be an unbelievable asset to the CEO and to the team. So treat them like a human being. Try not to be stiff or awkward around them, which I know can be tough. Just be relaxed. They're under immense pressure, and sometimes a casual yet meaningful conversation can go a long way in building rapport. And it's really important to be a team player. You see, CEOs really appreciate people who bring positive energy and collaborate well across different teams. Show that you're not just thinking about your own department or your own career, but about the company as a whole. A CEO that sees that you genuinely care about the business's success will be far more likely to value your input. And if you ever have a chance, just tell them you understand and sympathize with their balancing act. It might just make you their most trusted ally. Now, one thing that's admired by every single one of these different executive roles is consistent progress. But the enemy of progress is perfectionism, and lots of people fall prey to perfectionism. But if you go and click this video next, I'm going to walk you step by step through how to combat being a perfectionist. I promise you this video is going to have a huge impact on the work that you do and delivering better results. So check that out, and I'll see you there.